Here we go. I look is it any way you can grab his
Facebook?
his YouTube and share it in the comments when you
Yeah, I
share
could
it?
probably copy the link. I got you.
I bet.
Wow. Man.
We got one in already.
You know, and there was some way I could monetize this.
We working on that too. So I'm gonna create you a cash app,
Uh-huh.
and you see just like how I got the like, comment, subscribe going across the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I create the cash app, your cash app is gonna be going across the bottom too, so people can send in donations. So we gonna I just gotta make the cash app. Put that in my notes actually. Make sure these headphones is up and on. It's a test. Yeah.
Greetings, family. It is 7:09 on this 12th day of August. Amazingly so. I heard a quip the other day that I hadn't heard before. It seems like I should have heard it because it's so obvious. It says that life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it's over. Anyway, um, may I suggest that we've been subjected to a global speeding as in addition to global warming, because this is incredible, man. This is August 12th already. The you know the we had we're talking about back to school stuff already. It's totally incredible, but here we are together again on the Salim Muwakkil show, WBON 1690 AM on your radio dial. We're the talk of Chicago and of course the talk of the nation. You can also listen in by downloading the iHeart app to your various devices and finding this illustrious station, or even by directing your smart speakers and whatnot. Pretty soon, all you have to do is snap your finger. AI will get you where you need to go. So BON is the place, and you know how to get here because you are here listening. I'd like to offer my sincere personal thanks for tuning in to this crucial cathedral of critical thinking, place where we spend a little time every Saturday evening, just perusing the planet and connecting the dots that seem relevant. And really, all of the dots are relevant. It just depends on how we decide to connect them. Conscious journalism best describes it, and you can join the process along with America's most astute radio audience by dialing 773-591-1690 on your telephone. So, family, brace your powerful mind muscles and get ready to flex them. Respectfully, of course, because if it's 7 Central Time on Saturday, then it is time for Salim, live and in person from WVON's Sparkling Infinity Studios right here in River City. Right in River City, on the banks of the Chicago River. Again, our number is 773-591-1690. Some people say 312, but I can't vouch for that. Well, how could I begin a recap of this week's news without featuring what happened in the small town of Montgomery, Alabama, when a group of entitled white boaters disobeyed harbor rules by parking their pontoon illegally in the spot reserved for a large tourist riverboat, the Harriet II. The riverboat waited patiently for the pontoon to move so that it could disembark the tourists who were waiting patiently for this pontoon to move, but it refused to move. So the co-captain of the riverboat decided to get off and move, the pontoon himself, or to take some steps to move it. He was the black first mate. So when he tried to do that, at least 3 of the boaters attacked him. His name was Damian Pickett. When he tried to do it, they attacked Brother Pickett, punching him in the face, beating him and kicking him, during which time he threw his hat. Before they attacked him, he threw his hat in the air, kind of in a mysterious gesture. I don't know, a lot of people say it was like a bat signal, but he threw his hat in the air and he was attacked. Now let me mention, too, to establish a little context here. This was Montgomery, Alabama, small town that some people sing about. But it just so happened that Donald Trump, the leader of Code 45, had spoken in that town the night before. So xenophobic vibes were in the air. They throbbed in the atmosphere during this particular time. But those pontoon boaters should not have tried what they tried to do in this small town, because many of Brother Pickett's fellow dock workers and other observers, most of them black, sprang to his defense, retaliating against the pontoon mob, which was white. The incident was recorded by a host of phone cameras, and really has now become a piece of American lore, really amazingly so. One of the most memeable incidents thus far in this age of social media. Memes were popping up all over the place of various levels of creativity. Some of it made you proud. Some of it was pretty crude, but all of it was a response to an unusual event. You don't usually see black people come out victoriously in these kinds of things. So there was a kind of overcompensatory glee that was at large. Um, so at this point, I think 5 people have been charged for the incident, including one of Pickett's defenders, this brother Reggie Ray. He was the wielder of the folding chair that has since become famous. That folding chair has appeared in makeshift images of Martin Luther King's statue, and I mean, it was incredible, the kind of creativity. But all of this took place in a much wider context, including the history of Montgomery, uh, you know, and its role, the Montgomery bus boycott. It's a famous place for being in the bastion of irredentist white supremacy, the Confederacy's finest capital, many had called it. So it has a very glorious history in the lore of the civil rights movement, and I think that this I don't know how long lasting this will be. Right now, it's pretty prominent. It may fade. It may capture a historical wave and be registered as something classic. Who knows? Anyway, it's something that that was notable, and we're talking about it. And again, it took place in a much wider context. That was, of course, the Montgomery thing, but also, we're in a ominous racial climate right now, with this full-fledged backlash in effect, reflecting in actions like those taken by Governor Ron DeSantis and a host of other white officials across the nation who see this opportunity to retrench some of the gains that were made in the wake of the response to police brutality and whatnot in the last few years. And we're in a coarsening social climate right now. And it's influenced by the xenophobic edges of the culture war, quite frankly, exemplified in the music of folks like Jason Aldean, whose rustic nostalgia has cleared tribal tropes. Yeah, and I think, again, they tried this in the small town of Montgomery, these white cats. So you could change those tropes around a little bit. Don't try it in the small town. You used to be able to intimidate black people with mobs of white, heavily alcohol influenced assailants, but that no longer is the case. Black people are no longer intimidated by that, and so don't try that in a small town anymore, y'all. And I know y'all got some things to say about what people call the Montgomery Sweet Tea Party, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say. So get your vocal cords ready. And I don't know if you heard of this incident in New York City, in Brooklyn, but it bore some resemblance to the Montgomery affair in that it was an attack on a group of black people, in this case, black gay people, black gay men, by a mob of white assailants, reportedly shouting racist and homophobic slurs. One man, a well-known Philadelphia dancer named O'Shea Sibley, was stabbed and killed in the incident, which reportedly was sparked when Sibley and some of his friends, his compatriots, black gay men, started dancing in a Vogue style to a Beyonce cut in a gas station in Brooklyn. It probably was a pretty lurid spectacle for a lot of people. Apparently, it angered a group of white guys who started shouting homophobic and anti-black slurs at them as they were doing this stuff in this Brooklyn gas station. And so it sparked a confrontation. And during the confrontation, this 17-year-old guy named Dmitry Popov, who reportedly was part of a group that had objected to the dancing, they provoked the confrontation. He stabbed Brother Sibley during the confrontation. He hit him in the chest with a knife. And he's been charged with murder and a hate crime. But he's pleaded not guilty to the hate crime. His lawyer says it wasn't a hate crime, it was a fight between two groups, and it was it was murder or it was manslaughter or however they want to classify it, but it wasn't a hate crime, which adds a certain level of infamy and time to the crime. This guy, the lawyer says he has black relatives and black friends and blah blah blah, and so it really wasn't a hate crime, but it is being described as that, and he's being charged with that. So interesting that should happen. It happened in Brooklyn, and this guy was widely known. He was a dancer in Philly, and a lot of things came together here. Beyonce's song Renaissance, which has become kind of an anthem. That entire album has become an anthem for a lot of gay folk, especially black gays, and this whole ball culture, what they call ball culture. When it came out, people were talking about how much it paid homage to house music, but it's become larger than that. It's become this kind of anthemic music for black gay people, and they were voguing, which is a style of a performance that made famous by black ball culture, and so these white guys didn't like it. And so that's what happened. This interesting confrontation, very interesting. Sure, you got some to say about that as well, folks. I want to hear it. In Hawaii, going across the ocean here, the death toll from the historic Maui wildfires has reached at least 80. Man, 80 people, man, from that. And has decimated the town of Lahaina. And once the epicenter of the kingdom of Hawaii, which was a great kingdom at one point. There's a glorious history of the Hawaiian kingdom. But more than 17,000 structures were destroyed in this blaze, a historic blaze, man, and what is being described as the largest natural disaster in Hawaiian state history. One of the largest disasters in American history. The harrowing stories of those who survived this raging blaze are riveting, really. I heard one tale of this guy who fled with his wife and 5 kids to the ocean. That's the only place he could go. And so they went into the ocean, and it was a log that they found, and they were staying afloat on that log. That was the way that they survived this. And as the fire destroyed everything around them, they said they saw explosions, cars were blowing up, the smoke was coming over. Sometimes they could hardly breathe, but that's how they survived. Man, that was harrowing. Think about that. The fire built so much smoke in the air they could hardly see. The guy said, "Man, talk about a nightmare." But anyway, the thing about it though is that this was a tropical island, man. Where moisture is endemic. Moisture is a part of the ecosystem. Moisture, rainforest. The entire ecosystem is based on rainforest, moisture. A wildfire here. I mean, that's the extent of climate change, y'all. A wildfire in the tropic zone. That's extraordinary. But that's what we had. And I think that's why it caught so many people by surprise. It seemed absurd to even think of that kind of juxtaposition. But that's what we had, and we still don't seem to realize it. We still are belching uh, carbon into the atmosphere as if, it doesn't matter, as if this is a myth of science. We can't see it. Man had nothing to do with that. That's the latest, man had nothing to do with it, and thus man can do nothing to change it. It is just the rhythms of nature, they say. God's will, they say. All right. In another part of the world, tensions are running high in West Africa after the regional bloc, ECOWAS, which is an acronym for the Economic Community of West African States. It ordered the activation of a standby force for possible intervention in Niger in response to the July 26 military coup that we talked about. The Associated Press reported that the Nigerian, it's hard to say that without saying like Nigerian. It's Nigerian military coup leaders threatened to kill the man that they deposed, Mohamed Bazoum. They threatened to kill him if any military action was attempted to restore his rule. That's their threat. And other countries are saying, intervention is the wrong move. Burkina Faso and Mali say, don't try any military stuff, y'all. Be cool. Let them figure out another way of doing this. And meanwhile, the Intercept, the publication, The Intercept, is reporting that this country has trained at least 5 members of that ruling junta in Niger. 5 members. In fact, the U.S. has, ironically, at the same time, the U.S. has paused security assistance to the military in Niger. They still can't call it a coup, although it clearly was a coup. But the U.S. cannot call it a coup. They have to call it some kind of military action, because if they call it a coup, they have to stop assistance. They have to halt all assistance to Niger, and it's too important. We got a drone base there. We got a lot of resources invested in Niger, and to call it a coup, we'd have to withdraw those resources. So, for strategic reasons, we're not really calling it a coup at this point. But African officers trained by the U.S. have now taken part of coups in 11 West African, 11 coups, because there were 2 coups in Mali. But in 11 coups since 2006, these are cats trained in the U.S. It's not, it's not quite accurate to completely connect that kind of training to their activity or to the allegiances of the coup direction. The leadership of the coup is not necessarily close to the U.S. This military cadre of soldiers trained in the U.S. Sometimes, their activities are not necessarily in accord with what the U.S. wants. Not necessarily. In the particular case, in this particular case, it's not necessarily the desire of the U.S. would happen. Niger was an important base. Uranium in France, for example, France is deeply dependent on uranium from Niger, one of the most bountiful places for uranium in the world. France uh, obtains much of its uranium, and a lot of France is powered by atomic power, nuclear power, and uranium is essential for that. And France is dependent on. So Niger has a great value, and you know, it's not likely that the U.S. would sanction that kind of coup against someone who had established a pretty nice. Bazoum and the U.S. were pretty good. They had a pretty good relationship. The former leader, Mohamed Bazoum. So interesting stuff is going on in West Africa. ECOWAS is making noise, and then we got in East Africa. The Sudan is extremely troubled. There are tales of genocide in parts of the Sudan. So again, we need to focus on Africa. Try to get our leadership to be more attentive to the needs of that part of the world. Another part of the world, a little bit across continents there, in Burma, or what used to be called Myanmar. They don't call it Myanmar much any longer. You know, Burma was the original name, or the post-colonial name, and then it was called Myanmar. Okay, we'll be back. We have more to talk about. We will be back right after this.
I'm not getting no sound out of these headphones.
Huh?
I'm not getting no sound out of these. These supposed to be on, right?
You hear anything?
I don't hear anything. There's supposed to be sound coming out of these, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's because they're coming out here right now.
okay.
So it's like a.
So which one's this?
Oh man, but they didn't get anything, huh?
Now they hear you.
I mean,
You haven't taken any
Oh,
calls.
right.
You haven't
Yeah,
taken
we
any
haven't
calls
taken-
yet.
There you go.
You gonna plug this one?
Huh?
Yep, that's what happened.
I unplugged it. Maybe I look maybe I
There it is. It's on. It's on. Power's on now.
Okay, so those headphones on now?
Yeah. The power's
is this one here?
for the one. Sorry.
Yeah.
Which is the one where the one you have is actually right here to the right.
Mine is this one, I think.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's yours.
Yeah.
That's the one.
The Chinese section?
Come on.
All the way.
And then for that one, it's not right here. If you want to adjust the volume for
This
that
is
one.
for that one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
turn it all the way up.
Okay. Okay, now which way is up?
There you go. No, yeah, that way. There you go.
Okay. Got it.
Oh, you want it down right now, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Got it.
Perfect. Good now.
Come back at this one.
Follow your heart, yeah. Follow your heart, hey, woo. Follow your heart, hey, yeah. Follow your heart, hey, woo. Woo. I get a chance to doo-wop a little bit. Woo. What should he do? Follow your heart, yeah. Follow your heart, hey, woo. 7:35. Man, it's hard to stop, man. I wanted to keep going with the Manhattans. Follow your heart, the Manhattans, y'all. That was their doo-wop days. That was a wonderful jam. As you know, you can hear it. Y'all know. I want to do a little bit more about Burma. Burma is it's an important thing. What's going on in Myanmar with the Rohingya? You know, Rohingya are a tribe of Muslims, and they're little tribes like that, like the Roma, the so-called pygmy. They're little groups of folk that are unique and generally people who are oppressed because they're so unique. You find that across the planet. Rohingya are one of those groups, unusual in that part of the world. And one of the things that's very unusual in that part of the world, we tend to think of Buddhists as being very peaceful people, a religion that is peace oriented. Buddhism is considered a non-aggressive, non-evangelical religion that is not aggressive, not seemingly sectarian in the same way that others are. But in that part of the world, Myanmar is a Muslim country, and the Rohingya are Muslim. Myanmar is a Buddhist country. Burma is a Buddhist country, and the Rohingya are Muslim. So there's some sectarian tension there that you don't generally ascribe to Buddhists. Now, thousands of Rohingya Muslims are they're taking on a perilous task of trying to flee to Malaysia or Indonesia to get away from the genocide and persecution of these Burmese Buddhists. Buddhist imperialism, Buddhist brutality almost sounds like an oxymoron, right? It is an oxymoron. Any other Catholic or Christian brutality should be an oxymoron. Islamic brutality should be an oxymoron as well. But anyway, in this ongoing and unlikely tale of ethno-religious persecution by Buddhists against Muslims, it's a tale that happens repeatedly in Burma, and it's a tale that has to stop. We pay attention to it, maybe, that might help it stop. Now, back in this country, in Fort Pierce, Florida, Donald Trump and his aide and co-defendant Walt Nauta pled not guilty. They pleaded not guilty Thursday to 3 additional charges in the case around Trump's mishandling of classified information. Trump did not appear at the courthouse in person. Charges came as part of an updated indictment accusing him and his 2 aides of trying to delete security footage after at his Mar-a-Lago estate after they heard that the feds wanted it. Man, this cat. Whew. It doesn't do anything to stop his cult numbers though. Code 45 is still growing. They want him in office. His popularity is growing. It appears more likely he will be the Republican candidate for the election coming up. So hey, here we are in this weird place in America. This is where we are. Some people say we're headed towards civil war. Malcolm Nance, that guy, the black spy, the brother who has a podcast called The Black Spy or something like that. The spy guy, the black spy guy. Malcolm Nance was a big presence on a lot of network programs. He's a military expert, brother. He was in the Ukraine with combat gear on, fighting the Russians. So he has established his loyalty, his patriotic bona fides. So now he's saying that civil war is in the works, man. Trump is inciting a civil war. That's what he says. And I don't see anything to dispute what he's saying. It seems clear that that's what this guy is doing. He's getting people to hate on the judicial system that is focusing on him. He's saying it is some sort of a vendetta. So anyway, there's much more, including an armed robbery spree across Chicago, where armed cats and stolen cars ride around. They roll up on folks and take them off. Just straight up armed robbery. They say it's becoming an epidemic. That's what the cops say. Again, man, I see no relief in this. I prescribe, again, reparations as public safety. And I contend that soon all Americans will understand that the need for a wide-scale program of restitution as an answer to the escalating problems of crime. Because the gap between those with wealth and those without is becoming wider and less and more intractable. So much more, but now it's your turn to flex those mind muscles. Again, our number is 773-591-1690. Call that number if you want to get in. Many of you have called already. We want to talk to you. Let's see, where is the oh, wow, the phone is way over there. Okay, y'all, let me get to the phone. Good afternoon. How you doing? This Andre. Hey, man, how you doing, Andre? Good to hear you, bro. I'm good. Uh-huh. Yes. You think at that moment? Mm. Mhm. Yes, sir. I've heard. I'm not trying to devalue your evaluation, my brother. That's one of the more common ones that I've heard. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it could because it makes sense. That's why it's common. Hmm. Hmm. Yes, yes, sir. Hmm. Yes, sir. Mm. Mm. Okay, no, no, Brother Andre, you said something in the beginning that I wanted to speak to now. I can't remember. And yes, what is, repeat what you said in the beginning about taking back about. Go ahead, repeat the point you. Oh, okay. Hmm. Okay. I got you. I got you. I hear you. Mm, yeah, I got you. I got you, my brother. Yes, sir. Yep. Thank you, brother Andre. Appreciate it, bro. Yes, sir. I got the brother. Yeah, and I was going to respond. My point was, you know, I've been one of those who experimented in many ways of dealing with this issue of crime. One of them was really vigilanteism. Uh, at one part of my neighborhood in Jersey, we were beset with criminal activity. And we decided, much like many folks are saying, man, hey, man, we got to do it ourselves. We can't depend on the police to be the ones to make our neighborhoods safe. We have to do it ourselves. And so we decided to take the lead, man, and become enforcers. And so we did that. And what happened is it kind of created a war between certain elements in our community that took about a generation to resolve. Um, and because confrontations were sparked, families got involved. It wasn't as easy as this crime thing. It was so much more, and we realized the need for police, for objective forces of enforcement to be on the scene, because otherwise there are too many vested interests become involved in the issue. When you become a vigilante force, there's personal issues involved, family issues, historical lineages, all of that gets involved in that. It's more than simply a notion. When the community becomes a vigilante force, that's why communities decided long ago to hire constables, constabulatories, and other kinds of objective forces of enforcement, because otherwise there are too many interrelated issues that detract from the problem. And we see that, and that's why when you talk about vigilantes and we got to do it ourselves, I hear that. I understand the impulse, but I also understand the problem that it causes. Sometimes that we don't think about, and that is one of the problems. All right, let's go back to the phones, brother Norman. Good evening, sir. How you doing, good brother? It is a chair. Ah, okay, I got you. All right, yet another meme. This time a verbal one. Okay, bro. Mm. Yeah, the deacons of defense, man. That's what gave impetus to the Black Panther Party. Hmm. Mm. Bocalusa. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Mm. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So many things, man. So many things, and also the fact that his name is Brother Lukman. He's an example of Philly that heavy Muslim influence in Philly, man. It's incredible, man. Very heavy influence, man. A lot of people don't realize just how heavy it is. You know, just about everything that's going on in the city of Philadelphia got some Islamic influence, both good and bad. I mean, Philly was also the home of probably the most infamous Muslim mosque, number 12, man. Jeremiah Shabazz, yes indeed, the infamous Brother Jeremiah. Him and Philly number 12 and 25. That was the heavy hitters of Islam and that and of the NOI in those days. Yeah, no, man. Malcolm, everybody hated Malcolm at one point. Everybody in the nation hated Malcolm. That's why, you know, it's so